service. Now I'll give you my backhand. My winner whizzes down the line. Betting weekly tennis live. Are you ready for it? Here we go.
All right, it's time for another episode of Betting Weekly Tennis Live, all part of the Bet Rivers Network. You can follow us on our socials at Because We Win. Subscribe to that X account, Instagram, and YouTube. Well over 10,000 subscribers now on YouTube. Betting Weekly Tennis Live, Cincinnati Open edition. Mitch Michaels and Nigel Seeley joining the show. Nigel, there's been a lot going on in Cincinnati. We've got heat, we've got rain, we've got power outages, and a lot of top flight tennis. But good again to chat with you.
Good. You haven't spoken. Last week we spoke last week, and it's another crazy week on the ATP Tour. We moan about the scheduling constantly on this channel about the way that the ATP Tour sort of puts the pressure on these players to play so much tennis in a short period of time, and they look absolutely out of their feet. These players, what now? 10 days before a major championship, the final major of the year, the biggest tournament of the year, certainly for the American players, and it's crazy the relentless amount of tennis they have to play. So many withdrawals. I mean, we had the matches earlier there. Tiafoe got withdrew against Holger, and he didn't look at it from the first point. He just didn't look at it. And I was speaking to earlier today with Sean Calver about that. Why did they put that match on first?
Yeah, that's a weird one, right? I thought it was last year's semifinal. It was a great semifinal. Tiafoe got the win. I don't know. I know that they had the scheduling issue. Like we're at the stage now for those watching live. We're about to get the resumptions of yesterday's matches that didn't finish, and they don't, as you know, they don't put those first on. But I thought that was a peculiar decision. I thought that could have easily been a night match given Tiafoe's popularity and Holger's level of star power as well. It was weird. He was like grabbing his back too. And Nigel, the other thing to wonder too, when we're betting on these matches, you always got to worry about retirements and the heat conditions. But the U.S. Open's a couple weeks away. So if there's any doubt in these players' minds, they're probably just going to punt and wait till they get to New York.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, you're obviously stateside. I'm only reading reports here and seeing the weather all across the Americas. It looks like it's a very, very hot summer. So if these players are struggling now in the best of three sets, what state did it mean in the humid conditions that we're going to be expecting in New York in just under 2 weeks' time? I think it's going to be something's got to be done about this because the amount of tennis they're playing. I mean, and the people at the top of the rankings, obviously Alcaraz and Sinner, could afford to have last week off in Toronto. Obviously Djokovic is rested as much as he possibly can to be fit. Jack Draper's out injured as well. So I think those people who have had that allowed that kind of respite will have a massive advantage against the others. And unfortunately, it's not very good for competitive betting because the top two in the world are just everything. It seems as though the dice is rolling in their favor and everything they're doing at the moment. But something's got to be done, hasn't it? I mean, this idea, I mean, I don't understand. We've got this tournament now. It's a 10-day tournament, this strange structure and all that. But why have they crammed every match in today? Why haven't they, why can't they put like 4 of the last 16 matches on today and 4 tomorrow? Just ludicrous.
Yeah, especially with how hot it is, having so much in the day. And there's no ATP heat rule, or at least there wasn't in Cincinnati, too. I thought that was weird. In the majors, they'll kind of take a break in New York after a couple sets if it gets too hot. But yeah, I'm with you, too. It's unfortunate for the quality of play. We'll have to make do. We have Ben Shelton coming up. We have Jannik Sinner coming up as this show is going on. They're about to hit the court. And where we stand right now, Magda Linette is up a set. They're on serve over Jessica Pegula in set 2-2-1. That's a resumption. We have Tauson and Kudermetova was supposed to take place. That was another one where Tauson's up a set and 2-love, so she's in a commanding position there. And then we have Zverev, who's just got 1 game left, Nigel. He's just got to serve it out against Brandon Nakashima. So live window, not the juiciest right now. We've got some stars coming up, but anything that you're looking at as we peek our head at the live window?
Well, I think the only thing you can look at is the Pegula-Linette match from a betting perspective. For Tauson is minus 3,335. You've got risk $3,335 to win 100. Kudermetova is 14-1 to make a shot comeback there. Zverev, you can't really bet on him at all because he needs to serve out. He's won the match. But Nakashima is 45-1 for a monster comeback. But the Linette Pegula one is the interesting match. Pegula's probably given herself a big chance in that bottom half. The draw, her and Coco Gauff have come through what is a very, very weak section compared to the top half, and they've got a great chance to get to the final, whoever comes through there. Magda, Linette, though, is not going to lie down here. I mean, she's playing exceptionally well, and her run of form has been incredible because there was no sign of it, what she's done this year. I mean, got beaten the first round of the French Open by Tauson, beaten the first round of Wimbledon by Giacomo, got beaten the first match in Montreal and the first match. She got to the last 16 of Washington. We got with Kalinskaya. She only won one match in those big tournaments. So what she's done is absolutely incredible to get this far, and she's serving first in the final set, which is a big advantage. So the pressure's going to be on Pegula to win it, and obviously Pegula wants to get through to 1,000, obviously, but got to the final last year of the US Open. It's the hunger and the fight there, and when you get into this business ends, I worry the conviction of these players.
Yeah, struggling this summer and really, this year for her standards, but she's still in it. We'll see what happens there. Yeah, some of these Americans who did well, especially last year. We saw Emma Navarro lose to Sedell in that wild matchup. That was another one that's kind of shocking. But yeah, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. We have big favorites coming up. Ben Shelton, who we talked about last week, he gets the job done in Canada, wins his first Masters, looking like a surefire top 5, maybe even top 3 player. And then it's Sinner, who, I don't know if you saw this, Nigel, he wins over Diallo. Diallo looks pretty good. I mean, all things considered, I thought he played well. Sinner was just disgusted with his serve, goes right out to the practice court and just serves 100 balls. So he's still chasing something even higher.
10 o'clock at night and practicing balls. I mean, it's incredible. He's that far. I think the gap between him and the number 3 in the world is big as the gap between the number 3 and the number 50 in the world. And he's still out trying to be better. I mean, he's been incredible. I mean, he looked like he was in trouble in that second set tiebreak, didn't he? And then he come back and got it through, and he wasn't happy with the way he played. But out of the two of them, Alcaraz and Sinner, I think the conditions here will suit Sinner a lot more. My only problem with Sinner is that, obviously, we've said it countless times when we've covered tennis on these shows, in the hot, humid conditions, the Sinner of 2 years ago did crumble a bit physically. I don't think this version of Jannik Sinner, I think he's getting better and better. He can handle those hot conditions, as we saw in Australia, as we've seen in the US Open before. And I think that he's got the advantage of being rested from last week. With regards to the Ben Shelton match tonight, I mean, Ben Shelton is an overwhelming favourite with Bet Rivers, and on current form, yes, he should beat the veteran Bautista Agut, but the record of players when they've won in Montreal to come here isn't very good. They're usually fades.
How great was it, though, for him, Ugo, one of the retirements, right? So Shelton didn't even have to play 2 full sets in his first match. He can kind of just ease into this tournament. I had a stat for you, too, and I did some quick math here. I think it's accurate, but other than, Bublik beats Sinner at Halle this year. Other than that loss, so that's the only loss outside the top 20. Sinner in his last matchups versus the top 20, I think it's 85-1. So he just doesn't lose to guys that are not in the top 20. It's insane.
Absolutely incredible. And then obviously he's up a little bit later on against Adrian Mannarino in the match that we're going to cover here in a second. But I mean, with regards to the matches that come up now from a betting perspective, if we're looking at these matches, I think that you've got, the Sinner match. Mannarino has been a revelation again this week. I mean, I got a feeling I don't think he's going to beat Sinner.
18.5 over under. That's the number.
That's the line I like. I love the over 18.5. I think that that could be there'll be a bit of a test for Sinner. They've met twice before, and Sinner's never dropped the set. Does it 3 times before? He's never dropped the set. Won every single one in straights. But there has been a 7-6, a 6-4. A 7-5 in those sets, and overs coming in the last time they met in 2023 in Indian Wells. Obviously, Mannarino has gone backwards in his career in the last 2 years, and Sinner's gone in the opposite direction. But that coming at 23, and Mannarino has taken a set off him. He did take a set off in Montreal, sorry. But I think that 18.5 is a very, very cheap number. I do like the over 18.5 at -104. I think Mannarino could make it competitive, especially in set number 1.
You're looking at Pegula, and when that also is Zverev goes final, he gets the win, serves it out against Nakashima. Pegula on serve in that third set down 2-3. She's -162 right now on the money line. And that over-under games, Nigel, is 10.5 in that third set. That's been the magic number. We saw it hit in basically every set except for one in the Rybakina Sabalenka match. But any thoughts on where the live line is and that over under in set 3?
Well, I think the thing is, I always like players in these kind of tight matches when they're serving first. So I think that serving first is an advantage to Magda Linette at plus 123. Pegula is the player that I think will have aspirations of winning the US Open, whereas Linette is probably this is a big match for her on what has been a disappointing season. So I would argue it's probably of more importance to Magda Linette this match in particular than Jessica Pegula, who's highlighting her first major. I think that is a big advantage, and the market suddenly changes. You know, when it's 3-2. And Magda Linette's holds health serve and is receiving, she's about a plus 123. If it goes to 4-3, she'll be even money. If it goes to 5-4 and Pegula has to serve to stay in, she'll be the favourite. So there is a factor where the person serving first has a very, very big advantage, and the line gradually moves when the finishing line comes closer. So I think at plus 123, I think if I was pushed now for an angle, I'd be betting Magda Linette at plus 123.
A triple break point for Kudermetova. Tauson saves one, but Kudermetova threatening to get back on serve. I talked with Tim Dennis on this show weeks back, and we were high on Tauson and what she's done. My concern, too, is she's just played a lot of tennis, as we were just discussing.
I think the other thing is that they're young enough, aren't they, though? You know, these players are young enough. Tauson, the problem with Tauson, she's had a lot of injuries for a young girl in her stage of her career. And I think the injuries are going to take its toll on players over a period of time. You know, you look at Carlos Alcaraz, he's had a lot of injuries in his career already. Jannik Sinner has virtually had any injuries. And really with his ban he had, it helped him hugely that he's been able to have 3 months off at the start and get back, you know, while all the other players are slogging it out. So I think that at the age, you should be able to play a lot of tennis, but the injuries will eventually catch up with them, I think, for Tauson.
Well, let's take a look at these women's matches. We got graphics on all four coming up, some star power, some heavy hitters, and some clashes of styles as well. The reigning #1 player in the world, Aryna Sabalenka, taking on one of the feel-good stories of so far these last couple of weeks has been Jessica Bouzas Maneiro, her run in Canada. She keeps it going in Cincinnati. She's got a tough task today, taking on the game's top player. Minus 770, you see it. That spread is a big number at 5.5. Over-unders down to 19.5. Nigel, as we talk about this too, and you did the unthinkable. You bet on Emma Raducanu. It didn't go your way, but I agreed with you saying that was probably the best she's looked. Do we think that Sabalenka might be a little sluggish, tired, fatigued, as she took time off playing a player that's been in form and been on the court more than her?
Well, first of all, go back to Raducanu. I actually said that she was the best match she played in 4 years since she won the US Open, but it was probably the best match she's ever played in her career because her route to the US Open was so poor. She didn't really play any. She didn't have any testing, but to go toe to toe with the world #1 like that after what she's been through, I thought was her best performance of the season. And unfortunately for her, she's just going to be falling short of being seeded for the US Open, and we're going to be doing the draw when it breaks through. So nobody will want to be playing Emma Raducanu. With regardless to Sabalenka, is that she just showed a tremendous amount of determination and heart in that match, and she's the world #1 by some distance. She's digging deep into 1,000 at Cincinnati a week before a major. There would be a lot of reasons why a lot of players, you might turn around and say, well, they're not really at it. You know, I could understand why she didn't really try, but she wanted it badly. And that was a huge thing for me to show that she really is determined. She could have quite easily bowed out of that. 3.5 hours in that soaring heat. She could have quite easily said, "Oh,
15 breakpoint chances and none converted."
I've had enough of it. But she isn't. I don't think she is as dominant as she was in the early part of the year. Again, I think she's played an awful lot of tennis. I think some of the defeats that she's had in big matches have hurt her. And she's scarred a little bit from those defeats. She's vulnerable. And I think players see a little bit of a vulnerability in her. Whether Bouzas Maneiro can beat her on this surface, which is quick, I'm not so sure. I think she can make it competitive. And I think over 19.5 games at minus 107 is a bet. Bouzas Maneiro is playing the best tennis of her career. And, you know, she's the only person who's beat her in recent weeks was the girl who went on to Mbuko, went on to win in Canada. So I like what I see from her. She's got a big. If she wins this match, she could potentially be seeded for the US Open. I think she'd go up to about 32 in the world. So there is an incentive for her to put on a performance here. I think Sabalenka's going to be too strong, but I do like the over. I like the over 19.5.
That 5.5 number is huge for spread. Maybe she can cover that. Plus 170 for her to win a set. And I was just looking ahead at the draw too, because Sabalenka's, been consistent, but hasn't had the major success this year. Some crushing defeats. I would say the next match, looking at who would be up next for her, that's the one where you can say, okay, because that next match, Nigel, is my favorite of the day. It's Madison Keys taking on Elena Rybakina. Rybakina is a minus 155 favorite. Keys plus 125. There you see the spread. The over-under at 22.5 is a hefty number. Some set betting as well. Initial thoughts first, Nigel, on that number, right? Rybakina as a pretty decent-sized favorite. Does that make sense to you?
On the evidence of the last, since Wimbledon, I would say yes. Rybakina got to the semi-finals of Washington. She got to the semi-finals of Montreal. She's sort of showing signs that she's getting back to her best. And Keys has had some disappointing defeats. The Sigmund defeat at Wimbledon was a disappointment. Yeah. Tauson, the way she sort of capitulated in that match again in Montreal, she's got to get back to her form, what she showed at the start of the year. I did worry about Madison Keys at the start of the season. I thought to myself, she's finally broken through and had a major win. And will she be able to keep that level? And she hasn't been able to keep that level, unfortunately. But this should be a bit of a blockbuster match in these kind of quick conditions. And I think it comes down to who's the fittest of the two of them, who's the battle of fitness. And both of them, I think, are questionable on the fitness levels. I think both of them can, their bodies can go. And I think if it was down to her fitness, I would say that Keys would be more suited. In terms of the handle with Bet Rivers and the money being played, it's one of these matches that there was a bit of money for Keys originally. Yeah. And now the money has come from Rybakina. It's a market that nobody can really decide. But if you look at Rybakina's last 4 matches, which have been completed matches, every single one of them has gone over. If you look at the head-to-head between the two of them, the last time they met was in that round of 16 where Keys beat her in the Australian Open earlier in the year. It was over. Miami was over. Ostrava in 2022 was over. The French Open, their first meeting was over. It's got the look of a long match. And I think the over 22.5 at minus 107 would be the bet for me. So I'm going heavy on the overs today, Mitch.
You are.
Three matches, 3 overs.
We're going over in Cincinnati. I love it. Well, and I agree with most of what you said there. Rybakina has looked better, but there's so much to this matchup, right? Rybakina has had some tough losses. The form's been there, but the last 2 tournaments, she's served for matches and has not been able to get to the finish line. Contrarily, yes, Keys is not playing at her best level, but she's finding a way to survive. That was the 4th this tournament. Earlier this tournament was the 4th time this year against Ivelisse she's won a match, saving match points. So my concern would be if you're Rybakina better when you look at the form, if it gets down to the nitty gritty, one player has succeeded this year, one player has faltered. But I think the way you have it is pretty nice. I think it's going to be a long match, heavy. The heat will probably play a factor. But you wonder with Rybakina, right? Everything's looked good, but she's got to find a way to close these matches up.
Yeah, and I think that's her problem. I think she's like a jigsaw. She's almost got back to her perfect pieces, but there's like 2 or 3 pieces missing at the moment, and that is the one. I think the belief that she can go back to that player that she won Wimbledon and has been so good with her serve. I think that is the big. She needs that little bit of belief. Once she starts putting these games to bed, then I think I still got a feeling that she might do well at the. I've said it to you last week. I think it was the week before we were on this Wednesday. I got a feeling out of all the odds in the for the US Open, I think she's the one that I believe sort of double figures could be the one that goes under the radar. I'm still not convinced by Coco Gauff. Obviously, she's. I think there's too much pressure on her. I know she did what she did last year, but the last 3 weeks there's too much questions about her. Swiatek. I think it may be a little bit too quick for her. Sabalenka, she's beatable. But I think Rybakina is the one player that if she can get that sort of mentality right and start having that belief that she is the best player in the world again, I think she could be the one under the radar.
That serve is as good as anyone's. It's better than anyone's when it's on. So I'm with you there. As we roll along here on Betting Weekly Tennis Live with Nigel Seeley, Mitch Michaels here, all part of the Bet Rivers Network. Download the app to make all your bets and make sure you can watch the tennis too, because every Cincinnati match is also streaming on the app. There's a lot to love about that.
Just one thing, what I was just about to say. I'm just about to draw your attention to that Tauson. I mean, that is a massive capitulation at the moment there. She's love 40 on her serve, and she's now like
that's why look, we all make mistakes, right? Because when we went to the live odds and you said only Pegula and that's worth watching, and then here comes Kudermetova just rallying through.
That's unbelievable. I mean, she's gone from Kudermetova is plus 135 now. Tauson's minus 180. She could go a break up in a set, where she was a breakdown, recovered it back in a short period of time. That now becomes a very, very interesting match. Total games of 26.5 currently, with Bet Rivers Tauson having a meltdown against Kudermetova.
Yeah, when that's in a looks like a long deuce game we got brewing, 3-all deuce with Pegula now minus 240 on the money line as she tries to get the break and maybe take it home. We've also got Shelton and RBA, Bautista Agut just about to get going. First point match is coming up in that one. So those are the matchups to look. We got 2 more quarterfinal matches to discuss on the women's side. And one of them is Jasmine Paolini taking on Barbora Krejcikova. Krejcikova finding some stuff, a big win over Svitolina. She works her way through this draw. She gets Paolini, who won a wild match over Sakari, is trying to find footing. These are 2 players that this was the Wimbledon final last year, as people may remember. Krejcikova, 2-time major champ. Paolini, a 2-time major finalist. And Paolini has the slight nod, ever so slightly. Spread is razor thin. A lot of people wondering about Paolini going into this year, how she'd follow up. And it is just good to have Krejcikova back in the mix, Nigel. But how do you assess this one? And is this one where you have a strong lean either way? You got me? Got me there?
I've lost you there for a second. I think I'm back now, but I lost the connection. We've got a big storm coming into the it's a big storm. It's not, and I think it's my internet.
Okay. I think I got you. You're a little choppy, but Paolini, and as it looks like we have a nice comment coming in, Tauson struggling in the heat. But just wondering if this is a spot where Paolini, who won the Rome Championship, but wasn't able to really back up as she's, had a tough loss in Canada early. Is this a spot for her? Do you think Krejcikova can keep it going?
Again, Krejcikova's another player like Magda Linette, who's just turned their season on the head in this week. I think it's a massive match for her to get her confidence going. She's a major champion. She's beaten Paolini both times they played, both in majors. I actually quite like Krejcikova. On the money line, she's about plus 110, I think was last I saw with Bet Rivers. I think if she can produce the form that she's shown in the 3 matches she's had. The other thing is she was injured, wasn't she? She was injured before Wimbledon. Everyone expected her not to play at Wimbledon, me included. But if it was, you'd chance to go and defend her title. But she's come through 3 matches here, 3 long matches in this heat. So that would suggest to me that that shows that she's back to fitness. And if she's back to fitness, I think she deserves to be a 50-50 call, or even a slight favourite in this match. So for me, Krejcikova at plus 110, I like it.
Yeah, that matchup too. I mean, Wimbledon, different surfaces, but how she figured out a lot of what Paolini was doing, coming to the net, is able to rally with her. We've also got a lot going on in the live window right now. Linette was able to hold serve, so she's up 4-3, and Tauson dug her way out of that hold. So 3-all in that one. Clara just,
and it just shows you there, Doug, when I said there, Mitch, about that match there, the Pegula match, the net match. Before she had that hold, before she was plus 123. Now she's now got the hold. She's now minus 107. So it shows you how the market, once the player's serving first, holds her serve, and then the other girl has to serve, or the other player has to serve to force it back into level match. The market moves as it gets closer and closer to the finishing line. Magda now is minus money. She's minus 107. So hopefully some people took a little bit of that. Tauson held her nerve, struggling in the heat, but she's still minus 435. And Zverev gets the job done. And we're looking at the men's window as well as the players are coming on court.
Yeah, we got Shelton, RBA. Center will be taking place in a little bit. The other women's match to get to, Alexandrova taking on Kalinskaya. But Kalinskaya made me look foolish as she just dismantled Amanda Anisimova. Alexandrova is a pretty solid favorite in this matchup. Minus 195 on the money line. Kalinskaya plus 150, 2.5 spread there. Kalinskaya might be my Raducanu for you, Nigel. I just can't seem to figure it out. And I'm wondering, I always wonder if she's fully fit, if she's healthy, how, I don't want to say locked in, but I have these questions sometimes, but sometimes she just answers them effortlessly and beats top players.
I think she's obviously got the very, very powerful game, big serve, big forehand, strong, can overpower a player. But again, she's another player who really lacks it mentally. I think she's a player that gives, it has to take, instead of taking one chance, she'll take 1 in 20 chances. The big advantage for her here is she's got an overwhelming head-to-head record against Kalinskaya. They've met 6 times, these pair, and she's won every single match.
Wow. Yeah, she can't overpower her. That's like you said, she can overpower players, but not this one.
Yeah, 6-love Alexandrova leads. So Alexandra leads the head-to-head 6-love against Kalinskaya. And that, I think that's why the bettors are getting with Alexandrova for this match. The other thing for Kalinskaya as well, she's had probably one of her biggest wins of the year against Anisimova in the last round. And anybody who's followed me for years and years and years will know that when somebody has a big win against a big player, I like to fade them in the next round. I think the head-to-head record that Alexandrova has will be an advantage. The disadvantage for her is that the match is a little later tonight, so it's probably when it's a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
So that it is the late match. It's going to be it's going to be cooler. So that will suit Kalinskaya a little bit more than Alexandrova. Alexandrova will want it a little bit hotter.
Yeah.
But I think the head-to-head is the reason why there has been a substantial move with Bet Rivers during the day for the Russian.
Yeah, she is owned the head-to-head. And yeah, another example of that with Kalinskaya, right? Big win over Emma Raducanu in DC. Didn't do so well against Leylah Fernandez in the next match in the final. She still is looking for her first tournament title like Davidovich Fokina. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a weird one. We also had a comment in the chat, and I don't know this for sure, but we're not at a point now where players have to play 2 matches in one day. Shelton, if he plays today, will play again tomorrow. I'm pretty confident in. So that's something to kind of, that's the comment. I don't think we're definitely not there yet, but we will get there. One more weather delay, and we're going to have problems.
Yeah. The only person who have to play 2 matches a day will be Alexander Zverev, but I'm sure the 6 points that he just played there, it'd be okay. It'd be okay. There'd be no problem with him.
Yeah, we have that to go into. Shelton about to get going. Other men's matches today, I want to get your thoughts on. We have Taylor Fritz taking on Atman. Atman took out Fonseca in a matchup where he just thoroughly looked like the better player against the Brazilian. But Fritz is a huge favorite there. We have Bonzi taking on Felix. That's one maybe people are kind of circling in pencil that could be an upset potential. Also, Sinner we mentioned. But anything else on the men's board coming up that you're targeting, Nigel?
Well, we've covered all these games on Game Bet Match, and we've got 2 podcasts out at the moment. If you haven't seen them on the YouTube channel or the podcast, if you download on the podcast, wherever you get your podcast, we've previewed the matches. Sean Calvert is actually quite keen on Ant-Man to give Fritz a bit of a match. We like the overs there. We also like the overs in set number 1. The only time they ever played was in 2024 in Shanghai in a quick court, and it was 7-6, 7-6 to Fritz. Fritz's comments after the Sonego win were that he was pretty exhausted. He's more or less saying that he wants to get ready he wants to prepare for the US Open. And so that it wasn't the talk coming out the Fritz camp wasn't that encouraging. So Ant-Man on the money line does tempt me a little bit when you hear the things that Fritz is saying. Again, he's an American hope. He's an American number 1. He got to the final last year of the US Open. He's played an awful lot of tennis. Does he want to stretch himself even further here? I think there's a shot. There could be a shot there. The price with Bet Rivers is plus $6. Big price, and on the spread, is it 4.5 or 5.5? I think that's quite generous for Ant-Man as well. Big server, he's going to cause him problems, and I just don't think Taylor Fritz is 100% at it at the moment. This week, I think he just wants this week done and get to New York and try to become the first American for what is it? How many years is it now? Was it Andre Agassi?
It's 22. It's 22. Thank you for bringing that up. No,
I had it for years at Wimbledon until Andy Murray done it. So there you go.
Yeah, it's been 22 years since any male has won a major. Fritz making the final last year, so Americans are in a drought. But yeah, that number's down to 3.5 on Bet Rivers, so I think it's been bet down a little bit there. It's plus 120, plus 3.5.
I also like getting with players on big handicaps when they're up against big servers, because like the Taylor Fritz doesn't break a lot, but it's very hard to break. So there's always a lot of times where the sets are quite tight, like a 7-6. 7-5, you're not really going to get like 6-1, 6-2 blowouts that you would with other players. So Magda Linette's for the match against
she is.
Hopefully
2 points away.
Hopefully
maybe 1
took
point.
some advice on that. I mean, it's a bit of a way to go, but this is again another seed going out in a tournament where everyone's dropping. Big. It's a tournament that it's match point now for Linette. She's got match
double
point.
match point when that battles through. Looking at Pegula too, she gave an interview where she said, "I'm definitely out after the LA Olympics in 2028." So calling her shot there, but really, and kind of just looking at her last couple results, Nigel, it just hasn't been there. She won the title in Bad Homburg, but Wimbledon out in the first round, DC round of 16, Montreal 32, and there it is, out again here.
I bet her for Wimbledon, didn't I? And she got beaten in the first round. I think the problem with her is that she's obviously so financially secure. She's playing tennis for fun. I mean, if she won, there'd be like Bouzas Maneiro, for example. If she gets through to the quarterfinal here, it's life-changing amount of money for her. Whereas Jessica Pegula earns that in interest in an hour from her dad's bank account. It's a big factor. She's just got beat to Linette's one.
Yeah, it's over. Wow. Shout out to Magda Linette winning it there. I have another that's not a terrible way to look at it. I also think if you look at Pegula, her breakthrough was so late in her career relative when she was like 25, 26. I don't even know if she was in the top 50 consistently. So I think it took her a lot to get to this point. Credit to her, but it's hard to hold on. It's hard to hold on now. She's on the other side of 30 and we got players coming up. So we'll see. That's a tough one for her though. If she loses the finalist points from last year in Cincinnati, we'll see what the live ranking's up to. And then, the U.S. Open, the pressure continues. It's a beast, right, Nigel, having to go and defend points. It makes tennis unique.
Yeah, massively. I mean, she'll probably drop down a ranking to probably fifth, sixth in the world rankings if Madison Keys has a good week here. But she'll still be the leading hope for most of the Americans, obviously with the form that Goff's in, she's still going to be right there. Ben Shelton started off slow. He's loved 30 on his opening serve against Bautista Agut. Total games there is 22.5. I like the total spread 4.5. Bautista Agut can play on these quick surfaces. Most Spanish players don't like it as quick. They want the clay dogs, but Bautista Agut is a player.
He's different.
He's different, and he's going to cut this towards the end of his career. He'll fancy this. And Shelton, obviously, as I said, the record of people coming from Canada into this tournament is not very good. So if you're going to take the -$5, be very, very careful if you're going to be betting Ben Shelton. He won't have this season. Trust me.
Well, another reason I've heard he's different. He's like a Spanish cowboy. Like he grew up on a farm. He's got horses. He's a little different. He's not your typical Spaniard in a lot of ways. No. He's more like a cowboy. He's your Spanish cowboy. Yeah, come on, Bautista. I like him. He's a player that's made me a lot of money over the years. He seems like he's been around for absolute donkeys. But Shelton's. I think Shelton's got a realistic life chance for the US Open. I really do. He'll thrive in that position. But I just don't think after winning in Toronto, does he really want to probably have his chances? Everyone who won the week before going into Wimbledon, all the tournaments, the men's and the women's, all got beat in round one. Yep.
Why would you want to?
Wow. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy to think. We also, we have Alcaraz playing Nardi is a huge favorite, and then there are people who watch this show and bet on tennis, Nigel, that have a set number. They say when Rublev's a big enough favorite, they just look at the other side. Do you think Coman Sanya at over 3.5 to 1 right now on Bet Rivers has a chance in a prayer today?
Well, they both struggled a little bit with the heat yesterday. Coman Sanya is obviously a player that is a big time player, loves the big stage. Rublev he'll get into Rublev's head for sure. So you would expect a couple of meltdowns in the heat. The one thing I wouldn't be betting Rublev at those lines. That's put it that way. Absolutely no way would I be betting Rublev that line. Again, I think the overs, but the problem with the overs is that the heat, the people could gas. And if we go into a third set, some people could just sort of say, well, the retirements could be going through the roof again. So that is a danger.
Yeah. As we wrap up things here, Betting Weekly, Tennis Live, Mitch Michaels, Nigel Seeley, Cincinnati is just rolling and ravaging on so much good tennis today. It's always a good time to remind people about the newsletter, right, Nigel? BettingWeeklyStudios.com. Drops on Monday, the Insider on Friday, and I keep reminding everyone there's no shortage in the sports year, but this month, the end of August, mid-August, is just a special time to get locked in.
Yeah, there's the soccer leagues across Europe start this weekend, and obviously we've got all the Premier League, so all the Premier League matches will be covered in there. We'll also have it's a big night, a big weekend of UFC. Well, I think it's the biggest card of the year, so the UFC fights will be covered in that Insider, as well as some college football. Start the college football season stateside, that will be in there as well. So whatever your sport, whatever your passion, we've got it covered for you in the Betting Weekly Insider. That's every Friday. And the following week, all your tennis fans, we will have a preview of the US Open from all the handicapping team giving their best bets available on the Insider. And that arrives on Friday. So make sure you subscribe to the chat, to that. Give us your email. bettingweeklystudios.com is the place to go.
Really hard to believe, right? Well, yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of the Betting Weekly live shows, and here we are, newsletters and all these new sports. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and you know, we've only been going, the YouTube channel on its own has only been going for just over 2 years, and have 10,000 people in signing up is incredible.
All right. Well, we have do we have a daily double today? The demanding public is.
Well, the thing is that the daily double is quite difficult because we've covered most of the men's matches, and the one match that I actually liked, which I gave him play, was Magda Linette. But I do like the overs. I would probably go over 18.5 games in the match between Mannarino and Sinner.
Okay.
And I'd probably go over the games in the match between Rybakina and Madison Keys over 21.5. So I'll go over those two. I think it's a day for overs.
Okay. Yeah. 18.5 is such a low number, especially at Sinner. Might not have been at his absolute best, to say the least. And 19.5 in the other one. So really not even the biggest numbers to hit in this regard. But if we do some quick math here and look about what that's going to pay out, you're looking at a nice solid day today.
Yeah, but just under 3-1, I would have thought the over. So
275. Yeah. So there you go.
That'll be nice.
Final thoughts on the live lines as we look at what's happening in this Tauson match, 4-5.
Well, I mean, I'm watching it now. We've switched the game. She's really struggling, She's taking so much time between the points. Her body language is really, really poor. I mean, I think the thing here, so my last bit of advice here is, if Clara Tauson doesn't win set number 2 and it goes 1-all, we want to be betting Kudermetova as a dog. But obviously there is a chance you can get through this and just win this set, and it's no trouble. But if her body language looks really bad.
My last bit of advice is watch out and prepare for that storm that's coming in. Be careful.
Yeah, well, these are like tropical storms that you get. It's a bit of rain, and it's nothing like that. It's nothing. Not as bad as
just a little rain. Well, this was another great edition of Betting Weekly Tennis Live, the show that's on a reminder on the Bet Rivers Network, 1 o'clock Eastern time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We got a live draw show next Thursday as well for the U.S. Open. You can follow the socials at Because We Win on the X account, Instagram, and YouTube. Download that Bet Rivers Network to make your bets and watch all this tennis with all the matches at the Cincinnati Open. Nigel Seeley, this was fun. Can't wait to chat again as the tennis just keeps going and we lead up to the U.S. Open.
Yeah, have a good week, Mitch. Take care, and hopefully we can get some of these players fully fit for the U.S. Open. Otherwise, everyone's going to be getting retirements and withdrawals again. But it's a very testing time, and hopefully we can cash some tickets.
That's what the name of the game is. Hope everybody out there enjoys the tennis. Let's have some fun, win some money. This was Betting Weekly Tennis Live. For Nigel Seeley, I'm Mitch Michaels. Thanks for watching. Back on Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern, Cincinnati finals that day. It's going to be exciting. So enjoy the tennis. We'll talk to you later.